Hello, my name is Lucas, and this is Strike This on MD, and I've tried to make this video 3 times. Let's get it over with. This is Spillover, Animal Infections and the Next Human Pandemic by David Quammen, author of The Song of the Dodo. I talked about it in my Friday Reads, or Friday Read, because I read it on Friday, and I figured Friday Reads is about what you're going to read on the weekend, and I thought I would finish it tomorrow on Sunday, but turns out no. I finished it right at the end of Saturday, and because I have nothing to do, because I stay inside because of the coronavirus, and this was highly relevant to that, because animal infections and the next human pandemic. This book is all about zoonotic diseases. And what zoonotic diseases are diseases that transfer from one animal to another. The first example given, it would be the Hendra virus, which is this virus that came about from bats, and the bats were a reservoir host where the virus could stick around and multiply without causing any serious harm to the bat. And then they relieved themselves on some grass that some horses ate, and the horses became amplifier hosts. And then the horses were getting violently sick and dying, and the carers and veterinarians were dealing with the horses were dying. But coincidentally, bat handlers in Australia were not getting sick, because the virus needed an amplifier host to, I guess, evolve the virus, because they are tricky, unliving, crazy things that are horrifying. But anyway, coming straight from the bat, it wouldn't harm the human at all. But once it went to the horse, it amplified and evolved, and then with direct contact with the horse, the people taking care of the horses got sick and died. Not all of them, but anyway. And in the first half, it talked a lot about that, and about Ebola and SARS. Another perfect example, I think it came from bats, and then 2 civet cats, which were eaten by Chinese people from the wet markets that they bought them from, which, if you don't know what those are, don't find out. They are horrifying. Anyway, and he talked about this mathematics ecologist who runs figures and does all kinds of mathematics to try and figure out when the next big one, as they call it, will come. And to give you an example of a big one, HIV/AIDS would be a big one. Millions have died and millions are infected. And the Spanish flu, I believe, was another big one. I believe that was the zoonotic virus. Yeah. This last half that I read today, and after I made the video yesterday, it dealt a lot with AIDS and HIV, which I did not know there were 2 different strands in HIV. And what I found out about HIV, AIDS, is horrifying. It didn't go so much into the political reaction to it, because that's not this kind of book. It's a scientific book. It did touch on that briefly, and there's a lot to say about that. But anyway, there's a lot of theories about how HIV or AIDS came to humans, because it is a virus, and a lot of theories revolve around the idea of, I forget the exact term, cut something? Anyway, bushmeat, where a human found a dead ape or killed an ape and either carried it on his back and some of the blood got into an open wound or something, or he ate it. There's also theories that some chimpanzees killed another chimpanzee and they ate it raw, and then through some research or something, just general contact, the virus spread in some way. It's horrifying because there's still not, as of 2012, there was not a 100% guaranteed consensus on how this spread, or how this came to be. And there's, much like a lot of these viruses, there's a lot of problems with these zoonotic diseases. Where does it come from? What animal is the reservoir host that holds this virus without being affected by it at all, essentially being asymptomatic? What is the range of that animal? Like what causes the virus to mutate in a way that will directly impact humans? How is it spread to humans? And so many other hosts of questions. Something I was thinking about, like, because HIV and AIDS is spread through blood or bodily fluids, I was just thinking, what if it evolved? Because apparently it did not just come one time to humans. There have been 12 different instances. As of 2012, when this book was published, 12 different instances when simian immunodeficiency virus, or whatever the exact term was, SIV, lapsed over to become HIV, AIDS, and 12 times. What if it didn't spread via blood? I'm sure the response to it would have been much swifter when it came about. Let's not get into that. But yeah, I mean, what if it evolves? Or what if it evolved to spread the way the coronavirus is believed to spread, or if it aerosolized and was airborne? There's just so many, and another thing, there's just so many things to think about. Another thing that's really interesting, seems very obvious, but as many of you are well aware, the coronavirus is going rampant all over Wuhan, all over China, and spreading to other countries, and the numbers are growing, and that is worrying. But just because the coronavirus is spreading doesn't mean other diseases are not spreading too. I mean, just for example, I believe I was reading that Hong Kong or Guangdong province, or maybe it's in Singapore, I don't remember, Guangdong province in China is having an outbreak of H5N1, which is a common theme in this book too, which is an avian bird flu kind of thing, and it's no good. It's not necessarily spreading to humans, but it is spreading to the chickens. And last year, before the coronavirus, China was dealing with issues with their pork. A lot of their pigs were getting sick with, I guess, the swine flu, maybe, I don't know. 2 people ate a certain wild animal and got the black bubonic plague. That's a fairly well, eating wild animals here is not uncommon, but I know the bubonic plague is more under wraps than this current virus spreading around. Singapore, whose numbers are growing, I think the most out of any other country, they are dealing with yellow fever or dengue, dengue, or I don't know if those are the same thing or different or similar or what, but the world is a terrifying place. There's a lot to say about this book. It tries to leave you with some hope, but the last, very end of it talks about basically what humans can do to stop the spread of these viruses so that they don't become pandemics. And it comes down to, it depends largely on human action. If you feel sick, maybe you shouldn't go out, maybe you shouldn't get on the plane, maybe you should wash your hands more, or, do whatever. That depends on human action. And I guess that's supposed to be kind of hopeful or maybe ambiguous at best. It leaves me with dread because another big key thing that I'm just remembering, a lot of, not to say that there wouldn't be diseases still spreading out, zoonotic diseases, but there's 3 different kinds of ways to amplify these effects, and one of them is sort of displacing animals and removing their habitat. That might be both of the first 2, so that they have less space, and you sort of indirectly, you take their land, or maybe if you kill the predator, then there's more prey, or if you kill the prey, then there's less predators, and then that leaves other things. It changes the whole ecological cycle of things. And I'm not saying there wouldn't be disease still, but because there's still bacteria and some other things, but those 2 ways, if you mess with the ecology of the place, or if you let's say you clear some land, which covers the first 2 things I said, and you make it like a cattle farm or something, where we won't even talk about what we do to domestic animals. It's already horrifying enough. But you put animals like that in that kind of environment, diseases are going to spread everywhere unless we drown them in antibiotics and steroids, but those only deal with bacteria, not viruses. So if something should happen, an outbreak could happen. And anyway, it's a great book. I don't have any faith. It's a little worrying. I'm concerned, but it does sort of let you know that they're still looking for the next big one, the next big virus that could cause harm. But the chances are low that you will be affected in a way, so I guess that's nice. But it was a good book. I recommend it. I'm gonna read something much lighter next to ease my mind. Thank you. Bye.